episode 22 of the podcast.
Yep.
And I think this will be a fun one.
Yeah.
We've got some millennials on now.
Some boomers.
No, we're the boomers. We are talking to Kyle O'Grady from both Kyle Hates Hiking. We're going to ask him why he hates hiking.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the clickbait.
And the Trail Tales podcast.
Yeah.
So we got him on the Skype line. Let's bring him in. All right. Okay. And we are not live, but we've got Kyle O'Grady here with us. Kyle, thanks for joining us, man. Oh, what are you doing?
Coronavirus.
I knew you guys.
Get your masks on.
Get your masks.
Honestly, I just went into the fridge and grabbed the first one I saw. I didn't even buy these, but
I don't
it is
think
what it is.
I don't think you can get coronavirus through Skype yet.
Did you see sales of Corona beer are down like 42%?
No, but I would have thought that they would have been up because of all the memes.
I don't know. They're like down significantly, which is hilarious to me.
Once people stop getting infected and people kind of chill out a little bit, then the sales will go back up. That's my prediction.
Kyle, where are you located?
I am from Burlington, Vermont.
So, okay, I thought you were in Vermont. There's no coronavirus cases there yet.
Yeah.
So I think you're good.
There was one right border of New Hampshire. So
oh, really?
Both my roommates are nurses, so we're kind of bracing for it. They gave me like the rundown on what our game plan is if and when it gets here.
What's your game plan? You go into the woods?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Dude, if it was summer, I totally would, but it's a little too cold for that shit. It's here right now.
How long can you hide in a room for?
Pretty much.
There's actually a lot of stuff we want to talk to you about. You've got some pretty legit hiking credentials.
Very legit. Yeah.
On top of the AT through hiking, you've also done the long trail, right?
Yes, sir. I did it twice, actually.
Really?
Wait.
Once wasn't good enough?
The first time was a section hike, though, so that's my
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually like the first I don't know, like hiking accomplishment, hiking goal or whatever. When I was in high school, I did it in sections, and that was kind of like my first taste of backpacking and I guess to a lesser extent through hiking. But then I went on and did it again in 2016. This time as a through hike, kind of as like a trial run for the AT, and then I did the AT in 2018 right after I graduated college.
That's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Andy and I are in the boat of like gonna be old dudes that do it probably. Did you see a lot of old dudes? You had to have out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, definitely like most common would be folks that are. I was even a little bit young. I was 22 when I did it. I'm 24 now, and I was still a little bit young. I'd say most people were like 25 to
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like late 20s, but there was still definitely folks of all different ages. Probably older folks would be next, and then kind of people your age, honestly, would be like the least representative.
Right.
Yeah.
Through hike.
We have real lives,
but you'll still meet tons of people out there.
So, when did you know that you wanted to hike the AT?
That's a good question.
I kind of knew, like, I was pretty young, honestly. I like went on a day hike when I was like 15. I think I was 15 years old. It was just like me and a bunch of like goofy like high school kids, like just nothing better to do, and didn't really think much of it. But on that day hike, we went up Mount Mansfield, which is the highest peak here in Vermont, and the long trail goes over Mount Mansfield. So just part of our loop, like we were on the long trail for a couple miles, and that's kind of how I learned about it. Like I saw the sign and I was like, it was like Canada, 50 miles that way. And I was like, we're going to Canada. Like, what the hell are we doing here, guys? But they were like, no, it's the long trail. And they kind of explained to me, what it was. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I kind of went back home, started YouTubing, Googling, and through that, I kind of learned about the AT, and people have asked me before, like, how did you why do you like through hiking and backpacking and all this stuff? And I've never really been able to like give a solid answer. All I know is that when I first like learned that people will literally walk from Georgia to Maine in one shot, like something just clicked in like my like 15, 16-year-old head. And I just kind of like stuck with that idea all the way until I graduated college in 2018.
I feel like that's surprising that you said like most people are in their mid-20s. You'd say I feel like if you went to college, after you graduate college is the best time to do it. If you're in your 20s,
Maybe you probably don't have enough time in the summer, right? I mean, you got to leave in like
Yeah.
March or something like that.
Sure.
You did it late, didn't you? Did you start at May or something?
Yeah, and that's another big thing as well. Like most of the people that do it right after college have to leave late, like I did, because I didn't start until, and I went northbound. I didn't start until May 14th,
That's
and like
late.
as I'm sure you guys know, like most people are starting. You even got people starting like now, which is probably still on the early end a little bit. But I mean, I guess it's March now, so yeah, March and April are usually when people are starting, and I didn't leave until mid-May.
That's super late.
That's when Big Chief left. He left in May.
Oh yeah, one dude. When Andy and I were down in Grayson Highlands last year, we just randomly met some dude who was a subscriber, and he's like, "Yeah."
Oh, nice.
He's like, "You guys, I'm hiking the AT because I got into all the YouTube stuff." We're like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "Yeah, I just started." I wonder if that dude finished.
I don't know.
When are you gonna hike the PCT?
I don't know, man. I sometime soon. I don't want to put like an exact.
Is it
date
100?
on
Is it
I
100%?
definitely want to.
Like 100% in the next
But,
5 years?
Yeah, I
Good.
think so. It depends. Like, I have a full-time job and stuff too, and I enjoy my job a lot. So a little bit hesitant to just like, dip
Yeah.
in that regard. But I want a triple crown. I'll say this. I want a triple crown before I turn 30. That's my goal.
So once you
So
turn 30,
as long as I get it done before then, we're good.
Yeah. Then you're waiting until your 60s.
Once you turn 30, there's no time. So you're 24, so you got 6 years,
Yeah.
and you don't
Yeah.
have any like immediate terms to do the PCT, like obviously not this year or next year.
Can you repeat that?
Like you're not anticipating doing the PCT like very soon. Like you're not gonna do it this year or next year, right?
This year, no. I won't rule out, yeah, next year, but I won't commit to it either.
Right.
It's like so much of like my plans are kind of up in the air right now. It depends on a lot of stuff. Honestly, a lot on my job. So and honestly, a lot on like Trail Tales, my podcast, and
Yeah.
the YouTube stuff as well, because that's been picking up a little bit of steam lately. So there's a lot of things at play. But I will do it, or I will try to do it. At least I learned very early on the AT not to like completely like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna finish before you
Yeah.
even get out there. But yeah, I'm gonna try for sure.
So, we always like talking to thru hikers because obviously it's not something that we've ever done on a long trail, at least. So, if you don't mind me asking, like what was your highest high on the trail and your lowest low?
Ooh.
We're going deep.
Ooh. Highest high. Okay, so there's kind of I'm not gonna include finishing, because I feel
Right.
like that's kind
Yeah.
of obvious.
That's a cop out
Yeah,
answer.
good point. Good
Yeah.
point. I didn't think about that.
Because that was definitely pretty awesome. I think for me, there's like two high points. I'll give you two. The first one was when I made it to Harper's Ferry, because like we kind of talked about ago, I felt like I was like against the clock for a lot of my first half. And once I made it to Harper's Ferry, like I didn't really need to be that worried about it before then, but something just like clicked in my head where I was just like, I've talked about this on Trail Tales a lot. For some reason, I just like chilled out a little bit
Yeah.
after that. Mileage, I didn't chill out. I still kept pressing, but I kind of gained some confidence there. And so that felt really, really good. Like walking out of Harper's Ferry, plus because you just made it through Virginia, the longest
Right.
state as well.
Mhm.
So like I still remember like crossing the bridge at Harper's Ferry, just like walking out of there. Dude, it felt so good. And then I think the second, like this was probably, other than Katahdin, I think this one was probably the highest moment, making it to Vermont. So obviously, as we established, I'm from Vermont.
Yeah.
I'd hiked the long trail
Mhm.
previously 2 times and had failed to hike it 1 time even before that. So that first 30 miles of the AT and long trail in Vermont, I had hiked like 3 times before I even got there on my thru hike. So like I just knew that section of the trail really well. And when I first started, dude, like making it to Vermont might as well have been just as far away as like Katahdin, because
Yeah.
at that point, I don't remember exactly how far it is from Springer to Vermont, but I mean, it's probably, I don't know, like 1,500 miles, maybe something like that. Some AT like nut is probably yelling at their phone. Like, it's a long way, that's for sure. And then of course, like the home state thing, obviously like making it to my home state felt like really, really
Yeah.
good.
Right.
I mean, I'd been kind of battling that whole time. That's what it felt like. So that was, those two are probably the highs. And then the lowest, honestly, this might sound a little bit weird, but I think like, I don't know if I want to call it like the lowest point, but just like the most like mentally challenging part of the trail for me was actually like Maine, like right at the very end. And I think it's because I had placed like a pretty heavy emphasis right from the start on not paying attention to how far I had.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the AWOL guidebook, but in the guidebook it has, you know, next to every single waypoint how far like you've gone to that point and how far you have like left to go to until you get to Katahdin. And so then they're right next to each other. I'd pretty much just like trained my brain to just block out that second number there. I just only pay attention to how far I'd gone. Like, don't think about how far I have left to go. And for some reason, when I made it to the Maine border, like through Vermont, I was good. Through the Whites, I was good. But like right after I hit that border, it just like all of a sudden I just like let myself start to think about the end. And it's like, yeah, you're in the last state and you only have a couple weeks to go. You know, in comparison to how far you've gone, it's, you know, it's not that far, 280 miles, I think it is, something like that. But 280 miles is still like a pretty long way to hike. Like, I don't care how far you've come to that point. And Maine is also, especially southern Maine, is like one of the hardest, like physically hardest states. And so once I got to Maine, I just kind of, I don't know, I just started to think about the end. I started to like really allow myself to like want to be done. And I don't know, it was tough. It all paid off. Like I never really thought about quitting, but I would hope being that close, but it was tough. In a way, I really wish I had been able to, I don't want to say like I didn't enjoy it, but just like take things in a little bit more going through Maine, because it was beautiful. I mean, it's an amazing state. And I was just so like close to the end. I don't know. I kind of like bugged out a little bit in my head, but I mean, it is what it is. I still made it, so.
Yeah, you made it.
But that's interesting that you said that, because like we, you know, like every season we follow some thru hikers on various trails, and like they all like towards the end are like, man, I wish I would have slowed down and enjoyed it more.
First
or like
loses.
or like like everybody said, like everybody gave me advice to like slow down and enjoy it, and then I don't know, it seems like that's a common thing. So
Yeah, it definitely is. I kind of wonder if just like the circumstance of my hike starting so late also maybe had something to do with it. Because, I mean, like I said, I had to average, I think it was like, if in order to make it from the day I started, May 14th, I might have said May 18th.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
May 14th to October 15th, which was like my, you know, last day I would have wanted to finish. I had to average like 14.4 miles or something like that. And I ended up with zeros and Neros and everything averaging closer to 15. And I mean, you know, I'm sure like there's some like macho dude or girl out there who can crush like 15s all day, every single day. But to average that for 4.5 months wasn't like super easy. So I don't know, maybe just kind of like a grinding for so long and not really taking as many zeros and taking it as slow as some people do might have kind of worn me down a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it's like so personal too. You know, it's kind of different for everybody.
When you started hiking it, were you just going solo? Like you didn't know anyone else that you were doing it with?
So I actually, it's kind of a funny story, kind of a sad story too, a little bit. I met a guy my first night on top of Springer Mountain, my boy Mullet Mike, and we were in the same circumstance, like he had just graduated too, and we hiked together. You know, we were maybe separated for a couple days here and there if one of us wanted to take a zero, and then we kind of caught back up for it. But for the most part, we hiked together all the way from Springer to southern Maine.
Wow.
I mean,
for
like the majority of the trail. And then unfortunately he got sick and had to take like, we thought it was just going to be like a couple days off. And so we just like kept going. That's usually what we did when people, you know, various people I was hiking with got sick. You know, usually it kind of works out. You catch up to each other eventually. And unfortunately, he ended up not being able to come back to the trail. He did come back to the trail. He hiked like another 100 miles. He crossed the 2,000 mile mark, and then he actually wasn't able to finish. Like he was just like too sick and had to get off. And he was so close, dude. I actually found out that he got off like the day I finished too, the day I summited Katahdin. So it was kind of bittersweet because I was like, I like feel really stoked about this, but at the same time, like the person I spent the most time with like didn't make it, and I found out the same day. So
what was
shout out to
wrong with
Mike.
Well, I mean, come on though. I mean, He did 2,000 miles of the AT, and I mean, like,
super impressive
yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take away from that. I
Right.
mean, it is kind of fun to give him shit for it sometimes, but that's just
Dude,
coming
that
from me.
sucks.
I don't know.
he could jump back on it, finish it pretty easily, probably.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
he's gonna finish it now. He's got like a good job now and everything, and so he went back and he did a little bit last summer. He was gonna do it all. I think some plans with hiking partners didn't really work out, so we cut it a little bit short. And he's not really in too much of a rush, but he'll definitely finish it eventually. And I definitely want to, assuming I'm still here in New England, I definitely want to go up and try to summit.
Oh, we got you. You there?
Hello.
Yep.
You're you're cutting out sometimes. Are you noticing his video going like blue?
Yeah, but it's okay.
Okay,
It's
you're
okay.
good. We got you.
You sure?
Yeah. Do you notice that in the Skype? It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
It looks fine to me.
No. Do you see that though, right?
Mhm.
Okay. It's all good. Don't worry about it. This is our. This is why we don't do these live.
Like the internet connection thing, I can try to
No,
move
no,
somewhere
no,
close.
no,
There's
no.
not a problem with.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
It's 99% fine. We don't care enough about the 1%. I want to talk about podcasting because you have a pretty legit podcast.
That's a. I don't know if I'd say my guests are legit. I don't know.
I your guests are legit. How do you get them? They don't agree to come on our podcast.
I'm master at sliding into Instagram DMs. I'll say that.
Okay.
Slide right in.
Same with Darwin.
A lot of them just have here's a trick for you guys for getting people on your podcast. I learned this like accidentally very early on. Do an Instagram poll and have like your followers recommend guests, and then when they recommend the person, like post that to your story and tag the person. So it's like a little bit less weird than just like you like directly like contacting them. It's like, oh, a third party like wants to see you guys talk, and it just makes it a little bit less awkward. But I also just like, just email people and just DM people and stuff like that.
We actually have high success with people telling us they'll come on, but then when they actually like we go to like schedule it and stuff, it just doesn't work out sometimes.
Yeah, life gets in the way.
But most people are actually like down to do it, and the more we do, the more we can show people like, hey, this is what you're in for. Like it's funny. Like I don't know if you saw the Instagram. He asked me like, do we have a set thing? Because I'm like, no, dude. There's no preparation for this. That's not true. That's not true. Like I did look through. I've seen your YouTube stuff. I looked through your Instagram in preparation for this. That's about it, though.
Yeah, I watched some videos.
Yeah.
I mean, you're relatively new for us. I didn't know about you until Dan told us about you. So
I knew about you because I saw the video you did about Dan where you talk about him being on our podcast. That's the first time I saw you.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh, dude. By the way, the Dan. So Dan called into our live stream the other day, and we were texting. He goes, dude. He goes, I saw the comments from the live stream. Like half the comments are bashing Dan Becker.
yeah.
And I felt really bad.
Yeah,
and he goes, was I like a hot topic of conversation? I'm like, I mean, like not really.
No, it's just the fact that Adam showed up.
But I what do you think of the Dan Becker hate?
Dude, I mean, I don't like hate the guy. I talked to him actually. He kind of reached out to me after that video. On one hand, I'll say I don't understand. I don't want to like stick up for people who say like actually like hateful stuff.
Yeah,
like
right.
I'm not about that. I do a little bit understand just from like the thru-hikers perspective.
Yeah.
It's the people who are like, oh, this guy like doesn't even hike that much. All he does is talk about gear, and he's like getting all these like views and stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like Dan Becker, like he's never claimed to be like, a fucking superstar, like the best backpacker. So it doesn't really bother me too much, but I can like sympathize with that just a little bit. But for the most part, like, I don't know, he's just a gear nerd. He likes to talk about gear.
Right.
I don't really see the problem. Like he's good on camera and stuff.
But do you think thru-hikers are the ones that are giving him crap? Or do
so like kind of like I talked about in that video, I think it's mostly just like people who are just kind of jealous of him, honestly.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely like a little bit of stuff from the thru-hikers, and I mean, I say the thru-hikers like it's just a small, just like the other folks too. It's like a small minority, obviously. But yeah, I think thru-hikers sometimes give them a little bit of shit. But honestly, dude, I feel like most of it, and this is just speculation, but I feel like a lot of it is just people who probably already know like most of the stuff he's talking about, and they're like kind of jealous that he's getting like all the views and honestly some of the money too, and they're just like, oh, like I could do that, but they're just like, they're just bitches and they can't go on camera because they're I don't know.
we were talking to him.
That's who I think it is.
We were talking to him because we were with him 2 weeks ago about how, and I'm sure you're experiencing this because you're getting some nice views. The majority of people watching backpacking content on YouTube are not thru-hikers. They're Dan Beckers.
Yeah.
And they're us.
Yeah.
They're weekend people looking to learn about gear. They're going out like 2 times a year. Granted, we go out way more than that. But like they're just not, and so he's catering to that audience, and that's that's a smart business play on his end.
Yeah, it is.
He's full time now. I mean, he's full-time YouTuber. I mean, his growth is insane. It's petered off a little bit, but his growth the last year has been like unlike anything I've ever seen. I don't know.
It's pretty gnarly, dude. It's pretty gnarly. But I think another thing too, there's like a really bad stigma against like doing sponsorships and stuff within the backpacking community. Yeah. And I think I probably should have mentioned this a second ago, but I think that is where a lot of the hate comes from as well. And we don't have to get into all that. Personally, I'm not really like just from like the perspective of someone who watches like backpacking YouTube. I'm not really interested in like the constant gear reviews and like the I don't know, just kind of it's a lot of what he does, and not that I like don't like him or whatever, just not really my cup of tea. But I think a lot of people give him shit for the sponsorships, and like I get that, like people don't want to be just like sold to constantly, but at the same time, I don't think he's like super unreasonable about it. Like it's usually pretty obvious that he's doing this. It's not like he's like kind of misleading people. So I don't know. That's a big aspect of it as well, I think. Shoot.
He's getting sponsors.
So are you when you like a when you watch backpacking stuff, are you like a trip guy? You prefer the trip videos or?
Yeah, I would say so for the most part. I honestly don't watch as much backpacking YouTube as I used to. When I was like first getting into it, like I said earlier, dude, like Syntax 77, like I was probably the only like 16-year-old watching Syntax 77.
I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that.
And I like still watch some of his videos. He's awesome. I've talked to him on Trail Tales a couple times, and I don't know. Honestly, dude, I kind of wish there was more people doing like goofy stuff, like stuff that I don't want to say stuff that I do, stuff that I try to do.
You do some goofy stuff.
It's definitely goofy. Whether or not it's actually funny is debatable, but that's kind of like where I'm at, honestly. I really wish there was some more people doing like some funny stuff, but I don't know. That's kind of the void I'm trying to fill at the moment.
Who's like what else? What are you watching on YouTube?
So, like I said, Syntax. You mean like hiking or just like
anything?
Anything, dude. I watch so much YouTube. Like, okay, where do you even start here? A lot of like niche stuff. So I'm really into like punk rock and like stuff like that, pop punk. And so there's this channel called the Punk Rock MBA, and he just like talks about really, it's honestly like backpacking channels except about punk rock, just like really nerdy shit that nobody cares about unless you're like super into this. So I watch a lot of that. I watch a lot of just like, I don't know, like biographics and geographics. I don't know if you've ever watched them before. I even watch like some like vlog channels, like Nelk is a channel which I'm sure nobody,
I've never heard
if
of
you're
those.
of like 25 has heard of before. It's like, I don't know, it's a little bit cringy sometimes. Like some prank channels, dude.
Okay,
some of that stuff.
Okay.
I'm younger, like, so I watch some of that stuff. Dude, like some like just like vloggers and stuff, like everything. Like I'm on YouTube probably way more than I should be. I feel like, even like for my channel, like a lot of the stuff I do with like the stupid photoshops and jokes and stuff, I feel like I've kind of like taken influence from people who make videos that aren't like in the backpacking niche. I'm trying to like take some stuff that I see in other niches and kind of bring that to this. It really doesn't seem like too many other people are doing that stuff. So
no, not at all.
No. And it's interesting, like what the backpacking YouTube market was when we started versus what it is now. It's way different.
But we were just talking too about how you and I don't have nearly as much time as we used to just sit there and watch backpacking channels all the time.
No. And in fact, the majority of what I watch on YouTube isn't necessarily even backpacking stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a strictly at this point, I'm only watching people's trip videos and then some other random videos as I don't have the time, and I watch a lot of stuff that's not backpacking related.
Me too.
It's like I mean, we were watching 600-pound life clips earlier.
Yeah, one thing I should have said a second ago, I watch you guys, like straight up. I think this show, and I also think the backpacker breakdowns.
We haven't done one of those in a while.
Like, I love that stuff because I feel like there's not very many people that are doing videos that are like more unique than just like the gear reviews, the top 10 backpacks or whatever shit, and then like trip videos. And I think this show, and I also think the backpacker breakdown idea is just like super creative, honestly. So I really like your guys' channel as well. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you guys face to face right now.
We appreciate that. And what's
thanks, man.
Yeah, what's funny is that the breakdowns, the BSing, and the trip videos get by far the least amount of views compared to the gear.
Our trip videos do pretty well.
They're doing
weirdly. But the breakdowns and the BSings don't. But it's like,
but we love to do it. This is what we like to do.
And there are, and I don't think you fall into this category, but there are a lot of people who just create content based on getting views, and I don't shit on that. I get it. Like, you can make money doing that.
Yeah.
Andy and I, like, this is never going to be our job ever. So it's like, we're only making videos we want to do and we think are fun to do.
Yeah.
And like the BSing started with us literally out in the woods. If you watch the first like 10-ish, we were just literally out backpacking and set the cameras up and had like a podcast out there. And then we're like, okay, we want some better audio equipment. So now we don't do that. And then the breakdowns came from watching,
that was inspired by
Action Bronson watches Ancient Aliens on Vice. Yeah. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen like, I don't know, like some commercials or whatever. Like,
him and his rapper buddies just get stoned and watch Ancient Aliens, and you just watch them watching it. Is he the dude
from like the
Fuck That's Delicious.
I think I know who he is, but I can't quite remember. I want to be sure.
Yeah, he's a famous rapper.
Yeah, he's a famous rapper. And he's got
that's the guy.
And he's got the show on Vice where he just has all of his famous rapper friends, and they have a table just filled with bongs and bowls and stuff. And they just get super ripped, and they're doing it in front of a green screen, and they play the Ancient Aliens behind them. So we actually thought about doing that. We might do that in the new studio.
Well, yeah, we liked the concept of like watching something and then doing commentary. Now, obviously, we're drinking beer, whiskey, and LaCroix.
Yeah, we're not ripping weed.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, you got to be careful with the breakdowns because, like, you don't want to be an asshole, and I don't know.
Yeah,
we have to, like, those are, and I have one I've been sitting on for like 3 months because I had to edit it so properly based on what was said during it that it gets really dicey, especially when we do it with other people. So those can be a little bit dicey, but they are fun to do. They are an absolute pain in the ass to edit, though. You have to sync multiple cameras with what you're watching and then multiple audio sources. It sucks. But they are fun to do.
Yeah, we haven't done one in a long time.
No, we will in the new studio.
Yeah.
Hey, if you ever do one of me, you don't have to hold back.
Okay.
And I can take it.
So we
probably cut out when we do those. We cut out 50 to 60%. I mean, seriously.
The hilarious thing, what we can do with his is we'll just find all your gear videos, and then we'll go back and forth between this, where you talk about like how you don't like making gear videos so much.
See, the thing is, like, kind of going back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, about making stuff you actually want to make.
Right.
Like, if I was just gonna make like a straight up like serious like video about like gear, for instance, like I did a video on hammocks I posted on Monday.
Oh yeah,
If
we
I was
watched
like,
that.
super serious
That's
with
doing
it,
well.
It would just be like boring as hell, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
instead, I made like a bunch of masturbation jokes. So
No,
the way I see it, it's kind of like a compromise between making a video that people actually want to watch on a subject that you might like on the surface not be like incredibly excited to talk about, but still like adding your own twist on it and making it like fun for you because you just like at least for me, I just make it goofy as hell. So
no, and I
that's kind of the
told.
way I like I don't know navigate that.
No, that's awesome. And I told old D ball Dan Becker. So Dan,
Well,
when he started blowing up, so he released a video literally January of 2019. That was like favorite luxury gear videos.
Yeah.
And he started blowing up, and he he got into the Ohio backpacking YouTube crew, and he called all of us. Literally, like called us all on the phone. He literally texted me. He's like, "Hey man, can I call you?" And I was like, "What? Okay." And he had like 1,000 subs, whatever. But he was clearly trending, and I was like, "Dude, the only way you're gonna do this long term is if you make stuff you actually want to make, not make stuff that does well." And I truly believe that. I don't know. Sometimes I see him getting a little burned out on his videos, and I don't want him to burn out. You can just tell it sometimes.
No, I don't know. I don't know if
I just don't want him to burn out.
nobody wants anybody to burn out, but I don't know if I agree with your statement, but
What, you don't think he's getting burned out?
no. I said I don't know if I necessarily agree that the only way to be successful on YouTube is to
for the long term, for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Like you and I want to do YouTube for 20 years. No, seriously. Okay, think about this.
YouTube even been around for 20
No,
years?
no. This is the point I make to him, and he agrees with me. And you're a young millennial, so you'll agree with me.
Boomer.
Yeah, we're boomers compared to you. So YouTube was started I think in 2009, but YouTube really hasn't been mainstream probably like 2012, 2013 to now. And the demographic of people that watch YouTube are like your age and younger, and then like 50 and up. The demographic of people watching YouTube are going to hit the 18 to 30 metric like now, and YouTube is going to be freaking huge. And in 15 years, now I don't know if it will be YouTube because YouTube has no competitors right now, but user created content I think is going to be a large chunk of entertainment in the future. And I think if you can do this for 15, 20 years, I know you can't, like, it's weird to think that far in the future, but like it's going to be so much bigger then. So I like our play is the long con.
Yeah. And how we do that is we just do what we like so that we're always passionate about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
No, I get that, but I was just saying like I think that there's a balance that a lot of people play where it's just like sometimes you got to put out a clickbaity video.
And like, I'm not saying sometimes we don't make our thumbnails a little clickbaity or like the titles a little clickbaity. Everybody does that a little bit, but like the content.
I definitely do that.
You have great thumbnails, by the way.
Dude, I love making thumbnails, dude.
You have
Like
great
I just
thumbnails.
I think it was, again, go back to that channel I talked about. I think it was the Punk Rock MBA. Like one time he said in like a podcast interview, he was like, if you're not cringing at your thumbnails a little bit, like you're not doing it right. So I really take that to heart.
You have really good thumbnails though. Really good actually.
But
wait, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna make a comment about selling out too.
I mean, we don't have any sponsorships. So like we're selling out.
But I mean, like, I know a lot of people get crap for like accepting gear or whatever, partnering for something like that.
No, I don't care about that.
No, I don't care. I
we accept free stuff all the time.
I do not give a crap about
That's
that.
the perks of YouTube, man.
Like we get. It's great to get really nice gear at heavily discounted.
Have people started reaching out to you yet?
I've had like the kind of shitty.
Yeah, the shitty Chinese companies. Yeah. It starts there. It starts there.
You got Ridge Wallet
Yeah.
yet?
Yeah, if you got Rich Wallet.
I haven't had anybody like that I actually like want to use their gear.
Right,
But if
yeah.
someone does reach out, like, and I'm actually like
It'll
interested in the
happen.
product, I'll definitely do it. Like, I'm so down for that.
And the Chinese companies reaching out to you never stops. Do you respond to them?
I'm already getting like at least like 3 or 4 a week. Like it's kind of ridiculous.
Do you respond
What'd you
to
say?
them? Do you respond to them?
I kind of A couple of them, I just was kind of like fucking with them, and I just said like, yeah, I'll do it for like $5,000, and then I don't reply after that.
Hey, that's what Becker. Hey, that's
There's
some advice
I mean,
to that.
You're putting time and energy into it for what, a $20 piece of gear?
Yeah.
So if they actually like we're down with that, then I'd be like in the predicament of, do I actually want to talk about this stupid like like beach tent on my like channel? Like, not posted, but I could buy a new camera with $5,000. So
Yeah.
Very unlikely that will even happen, but shit, I don't know. I guess it's a pretty good predicament to be in.
Yeah, we just straight up don't respond to them. We've probably gotten 500 emails from different companies.
Oh, dude, just based on the number I've got so far, I can absolutely believe that. Yeah.
And then we do not actively get approached by legit companies too much. We do, but like, so it'll be more like we'll reach out to them and be like, hey, if you send me this, it'll be in a video. Like, I'm not saying it'll be in a good video. I'm not saying it'll be in a lot of videos, but if you send this to me, it will be in a video in some way.
But there's been some exceptions, but most of the people have approached us.
There has been some exceptions, but most people have approached us. Yes. And you'll start to get that.
But they were all companies that we love.
Yeah.
Because we talk about them all the time.
And in fact, and not to sound too full of us, we get offered free gear a lot, and we pay people.
Yes, I don't like taking free stuff.
Yeah,
sometimes.
we pay people. We've been offered like really nice free stuff that we have that you might see here, and we pay people for it and not because we're like trying to be elitist, but because we really truly believe in like the cottage vendor thing. And like it's worth it to us to give them a couple $100 so they can keep making shit, and like we're gonna do a video anyway, so we try and like at least like not take like totally free stuff. If it's like a small like dude making gear in his garage or something, like, dude, we'll give you some money. Like that takes time and effort to do, and like and like so we're pretty good friends now with a couple companies, and like hearing the impact that YouTube has on their sales, it like it's ridiculous, and it doesn't like we got the Light AF tarps a couple weeks ago, like a month or two ago. We put out like just a quick little first look video on the Light AF tarp, and it got like 5,000 views in like 2 days. And I was like, what? And Chris is like, dude, everyone's emailing me about these tarps. He's like, I'm not even making them right now. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Put the video out. But like seeing the effect that YouTube has on, like, there's a reason these companies are coming to YouTube. I mean, it's like pocket change for them. Like if Z-Packs gives you a tent, it's $500 to them, but they're going to get thousands of eyeballs, you know?
I mean, I think it's a coincidence that I feel like as the backpacking YouTube niche has expanded, I keep seeing more and more cottage companies pop up too. Because even like, I might be young, but you know, I started doing this like 6-7 years ago. So even back then, like there were still some people, maybe not 6 years. Yeah, I guess so. Even back then, like there was a couple companies, but there wasn't like, you know, like 10 plus nuts. Backpack companies, like just backpacks, right? Ultralight backpacks or whatever. And now it's like, especially once I started Trail Tales, I started the podcast like right after I got back from my thru-hike. So it was like, I think I launched my first episode like early November 2018. Like then when I started to like get back on Instagram and stuff, I hadn't really bought any gear in a while. I kind of had a lot of my stuff for like a long time now. And I started to just realize, just from like poking around on Instagram, like how many new companies there are now that make like these like super niche, like ultralight, whatever gear. And I was like, damn, this has changed a lot, even from just like 2014, which was kind of the last time I was like really you know, the gear grind, like trying to find stuff. So it's crazy. Like, yeah, I feel like YouTube backpacking stuff and the cottage companies have kind of like came up together, if that makes sense.
So when you did your thru hike, were you one of those thru hikers that like by the time you were done with the trail, like you've changed out most everything that you had?
No, dude. No, total opposite. I started with pretty much the same. The only things that was different by the end of my thru hike were that I like picked up a couple like extra layers and stuff. Everything else was the same, dude. I think one of the reasons why I don't really like on Trail Tales, for instance, I've like done one gear episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think this week was 67, episode 67, one gear episode. And I think part of the reason why is because I've like had like the same gear for like so many years now that like like none of my stuff is like new and exciting and sexy. So I'm just like not that excited. Like, it's great gear, but I'm just like not that excited to talk about it, I guess. Plus people would be like, why are you recommending like a, 6-year-old backpack or whatever?
Use a ULA.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
DDT, dude. I bought that thing, or I didn't buy it actually. It was a gift because I was in high school still. In 2014, I was given that frameless backpack. So people always say like frameless backpack's gonna break or whatever. I was given 2014. I've used that thing. I used it on my long trail through hike. I've used it on almost most of the Adirondack 46, most of the New Hampshire 48, a failed attempt at the Northville Placid Trail and the Appalachian Trail, and the thing is still going. I had to get the back pocket fixed one time, but other than that, like the thing is like still going strong now. I kind of like want it to break so I can like justify getting a new pack at this point, honestly. But it's crazy, dude. It's absolutely crazy.
We gotta get you in a sexy light AF pack. We know a guy.
Yeah.
I saw you using the ULA. I'm like, damn, and it's like a ton of your stuff. I'm like, wow, you've been using that for a long time.
I had the Ohm for a few years.
Yeah, you had a ULA pack. That's right. You don't really see like that many of them anymore.
Well,
Amy Rauch just got one. Right?
To your point, they were kind of like one of the first in my opinion.
Yeah, they were. That's
I did see a decent amount on my through hike, but again, that was a couple of years ago now. So, which is crazy to say. It feels like it was just yesterday, but yeah, a little while ago now. So,
this is something I always talk to through hikers about. Well, like one through hiker I know, well, two now. Did you get the post trail depression?
Actually, I talked about this on when I was a guest on another podcast called Byland. I don't like to call it like post trail depression because like I wasn't like depressed. You know?
Blues.
I know, or like actually depressed, and like I don't really like to go that far.
Yeah. That's
definitely. I like to call it like the post trail blues, though. I know most people call it post trail depression. I like to just say like the post trail blues or whatever. I definitely got it a little bit. For me, it was like I already had like my job now lined up before I even started my through hike. So
nice.
I went from like summiting Katahdin to being in a cubicle within like a 2-week time span, like clean shaven, like business casual. So that was a little bit depressing. I always feel like weird saying this because I'm like super like grateful for my job. Like I don't want to complain about like my white collar job, like fucking first world problem. But just the contrast there was a little bit shitty. But I think once I got my first paycheck, I started to feel a little bit better. Because it feels like I feel like the first 2 weeks were tough, and then after that, I started to feel better, which probably again corresponds to the paycheck thing because I was pretty broke at the end of my through hike. But I don't know, it was fine. I think if I had kept a little bit more active than I did, that probably would have helped too. Because I was a couch potato for like the first couple months. I gained like 20 pounds after I got back.
Oh wow!
And so that wasn't great. I think if I had, or if I just lived somewhere that wasn't like freezing cold and dark at 4:30 in November, then that probably would have a little bit better too. But I don't know. It wasn't great at first, but I made it through.
You're talking to two cubicle warriors here. We're the cube life.
Cubicle through hiking.
What do you do for a living? I want to know.
I'm a software developer.
What kind of software?
So my company, I don't want to like go too specific.
No,
but,
don't. I know you write code though.
Software. So I write. So I don't actually write the product. I write automated tests that like they're just UI tests basically. Okay. So like our tests will literally just launch a browser and like log into the product and go and test this button and prescribe a medicine and like do all this stuff. And it's basically just so when developers check stuff in, then and maybe their stuff like worked the way it was supposed to, but it broke something else that they weren't specifically working on. And our tests kind of like gate that, and so we can catch some of those issues before they get shipped to a customer.
Dude, you're white collar AF, bro.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I write code for a living too. That's why I was curious. I don't do that sort of code writing. But I saw like on your Instagram some stuff about writing code. So I'm like, I gotta talk to him about that. I figured it was software development.
Yeah, I studied computer science.
Oh, nice.
digital art as well, which is where I got my thumbnail skills from.
Dude,
I
CS,
studied computer
nice.
science so I could get a nice software job, and I studied digital art so I could make stupid thumbnails on YouTube.
No, dude, that's actually cool. That's another thing with you, like when I was in college, because I'm 10 years older, I'm 9 years older than you. Like computer science was not a thing. Like,
Really?
No, I mean, computer science has really taken off in the last 10 years, ever since I graduated from college. So like we go to hire people and we can't even find people with advanced degrees in computer science because they don't even like exist yet. So that's a cool, no, that's a pro tip that you got into that. I don't know, that's very cool. But man, you really ride cubicle life hard then, if that's what you're doing. That's like, that's a big juxtaposition there, man. Hiking the AT and sitting in the cubicle, dude.
Again, like I'm like super grateful for my job, but I don't know. I was lucky. I get like a decent amount of PTO for like a, an entry level developer. So I kind of like save all that for the summer.
Yeah.
Like that's honestly, I'm kind of worried about this stupid virus thing. 'Cause if I get sick and I have to use a bunch of my PTO, then that's like a couple days I can't hike this summer. So
dude,
just go to work sick.
So Andy and I,
no, I'm not gonna do that.
we don't like to divulge much about our occupations, but
Just keep it high level.
Andy and I work for a very large corporation, and the corporation we work for is doing coronavirus resiliency testing. So my entire department today of 200 people all had to work from home to test.
Cool.
So their shit is, you're just going to work from home for months on end if you need to. So we were like stressing our IT systems doing all that. And yours was Tuesday?
Yeah.
So like there's no PTO. There's just like your ass is in bed with a laptop
Drinking Gatorade.
Yeah. Don't come to work for like 2 months.
That's
Yeah. But it's been like, dude, this coronavirus shit could get a little out of hand. Could. I have a background in the biomedical sciences, and dude, it could get real weird. You live with 2 nurses, dude. You're fucked.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it. They're gonna try to steal some masks from work though, so we have that going for us.
Dude.
Sorry.
No, it's hey, just go live in the woods. I guess in Burlington, Vermont. Andy and I have been to Burlington, Vermont, actually.
Yeah, I've been skiing there too.
Yeah. We that's right. I've never been skiing there. We went there in the summer on like a family trip. We toured the Ben and Jerry's factory. We got some Birkenstocks. When we were young.
That's awesome, man.
It's beautiful though, man. Ohio sucks. Have you ever been down here?
Good segue.
I like drove through it when I was a kid, but dude, I could never live in an area. That's another thing. You say like the contrast between like my screen keeps going blank.
You're
fine.
good. You're good.
That's like the contrast again between like the cubicle life and the hiking life. Here in Burlington, it's so easy to get access to the trail that it almost like makes up for it, right? Because during the summer, I can literally work a full 8-hour shift in my cubicle and then go watch the sunset on the tallest mountain in Vermont.
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
and obviously hike down in the dark, and then I can go to work the next day, you know, and I do that. So like, it's you're like kind of, my job, like not very outdoorsy, very sedentary, but just the access here. And another thing about living here in Burlington too, if you're like a peak bagger, you like have super easy access to the Whites and the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
So, like literally, so not only like the Vermont mountains, but you have access to like pretty much everywhere except for like, maybe northern Maine within like a pretty reasonable drive. Like I can get to like North Conway in say like 2.5 hours, like maybe a little bit more. I can get to Lake Placid in like 2.
That's
sometimes some places in the Adirondacks like even quicker. So it's like honestly, if for someone who loves to just like mess around in like the woods up here and like someone who's trying to do like the Northeast 115, something like that, I mean Burlington is like the best central location.
Sweet.
Like it's really hard to beat it.
You do any ice fishing?
Are you a skier?
I don't do fishing now. I ski a little bit.
Are you a
don't
skier?
fish.
That's big up there.
Yeah, a little bit. I actually didn't get it passed this year. I was kind of planning on just like continuing to hike because I usually don't hike during the winter, but I ended up like kind of dealing with a little bit of a foot injury. So I went on like a short hike last weekend, but I honestly haven't really done any like actual hikes in a couple months now. It kind of sucks.
Do you have?
But that's probably why I've been doing all the videos and stuff. Once I get back on trail over the summer, I'm probably gonna like run out of time to do everything.
We haven't talked about backpacking at all.
What? Yeah. Since you're saving all your PTO for the summer, do you have any trails or anything that you're gonna try to hit?
So I have some tentative plans. I think I mentioned a few minutes ago, when I was 19, 2015, I tried to thru-hike the Northville Placid Trail. For anybody who's not familiar, it's like 100. They actually added a couple miles to it. I think it's like 130 miles now, in the Adirondacks. And I did at the time. I think it was only like 120 or something like that. And me and a buddy did like 90 before we bailed. And I actually have a whole video on that. But it's kind of a stupid story. I won't go into it now. But anyways, I want to get some redemption on that, because that's like that's the only I've failed and haven't like gone back and completed since. And so I'm thinking about doing that in the fall. I should be able to bang that out with like just like a week of PTO plus the 2 weekends. And then I have like 5 peaks left for the Northeast 115, and they're all like northern Maine, like the furthest ones away from me, which makes sense. But I really need to get up and finish those. I was like within a mile and a half of most of them on my thru hike, but like I said at the end there, I was just like I just couldn't bring myself to do any extra miles. There's one that was like 0.2 off the trail, and I did that one, but like there was one that was like 0.6 off the trail, and I got to the intersection and I was like,
so close.
I didn't do it. So I was like, I'll just have to come back. Like it'll be a whole nother trip. And so I got to finish those up. And then I have a buddy that I met on my thru hike actually, who's going to be moving up here. And so I'm just planning on taking him on like a bunch of trails in like the Whites and the Adirondacks. Now that I've like finished the Adirondack 46 and the New Hampshire 48, I'm trying to go and like experience a lot of the trails that like people don't really hit because they're not, a part of like the peaks that everyone wants to do. And so I think we're probably just going to do like a bunch of backpacking trips, and even just like some day trips and some death marches, I like to call them, like the 20-mile plus day hikes, just some stuff like that. So, dude, I have a lot planned. I'm stoked. I'm getting to the point now in winter where I'm just like, just warm up, please. Dude. It was like 40 today. It was kind of a teaser. So,
do you do any?
I'm ready.
Do you do any winter backpacking up there?
Dude, the closest I ever came to winter like backpacking was when I like stupidly went out in like November one time when I was in high school and like just underestimated like how cold it was going to be. And someone actually commented this on a video I posted about that trip. They were like, I think that like ruined you, like, or like scarred you. That's why you're like afraid to do winter backpacking now. So I wouldn't say I'm like afraid, but I've never really winter backpacked before. I've done like a couple 4,000 footers in the winter, but like I said, I really don't do very much during the winter. Honestly, I usually just like ski or just sit at home and talk about shit to my camera this winter, I guess. But I'd really like to get into it. Probably maybe not backpacking, but just like doing some day hikes and stuff. I could be down with that.
In Vermont, that's fair. But if you come down to like where we live, or even Wisconsin where we went, I mean, it's a different ball game in the winter.
What are the cold temps like? Like
super
peak winter
cold,
Vermont?
Right?
Negatives?
I mean, are we talking like down in town or like up on the mountains?
In the mountain, like where you would be backpacking.
I mean, obviously it's going to vary a little bit, but if it was like, 30, that'd be like a pretty warm day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd probably be pretty rare for it to be 30 at night. And then, the higher you go, obviously, in the wind and stuff, I don't think it would be like, again, I'm not like an expert on this because I don't do the winter stuff as much, but very cold, like, definitely, below 20 most of the time, I would say, without the wind, and then plus the wind and stuff. So people do it, like, for sure, as you guys know, but I don't know. I would probably have to go tag a couple more 4,000 footers just in day trips before I bring my hammock out there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's we basically have an entire different set of gear for winter now, right?
For sure.
Mean, different quilts, different everything, and like our winter is like the lows are in the low 20s, so it's way better than what you would go through up there. I don't know if I'd be doing it if it was 10 degrees without the wind. I don't know.
I
We have 0 degree quilts now. I guess.
but
Still, it's not like It's not super fun.
I mean, you just get to camp and you get in your down.
You get to camp, you bring a bunch of booze. I mean, there's nothing else to
Yeah.
do. You make a huge fire, and then you go to bed at like 9. You
That sounds kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to go as light as possible with the gear and stuff. So just the idea of like bringing a bunch of extra stuff. I know I'm gonna get so much shit for saying that, but that's part of it too. And then another part of it, like I just go so hard during the summer. Like I put in, for me anyways, I probably put in like close to 250 miles just over the summer, like while working full time and stuff
That's
too.
good.
So
Yeah.
That's really
by
good.
the time I get to like, late October, November, I'm kind of like, all right, I'll just like take a little bit of a break for a while, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair. That's fair. We've just gotten into it the last like 2 years because like there's just nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's been a fun thing to like, approach from a technical gear standpoint because we literally bring an extra 10 pounds of shit when it's in the winter.
Yeah.
Yep.
At least.
Oh yeah.
Because we're not out there to just
Take it
die.
to the next level. Come up to the whites or something and like be like Syntax. He does some crazy stuff. Like
Not-
go like
No.
straight into the whites.
No.
Just
during,
go up
like,
there and have your
No.
water bladder break open on you
fit.
and die. All right. Hey, we're approaching the hour mark.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, that's 58 minutes, dude. That goes fast. You do podcasts. You know that. All right, Kyle. Thanks so much for talking to us, man. This went really fast.
Yeah.
And
those of you that aren't
doesn't
subscribed,
have to end. We can keep going.
Yeah,
I only delayed
dude,
you
we're in
guys
our
by, like,
we're in our
5
30s,
minutes.
dude.
it's a work
Come
night,
on,
Kyle.
man. Yeah, you gotta get yourself a standing desk. I meant to tell you that earlier.
For 5 fucking hours. Don't tell me you're
Dude,
gonna have-
that was
Oh,
not
God.
planned.
that was fueled by whiskey.
That was, and you know what though? You've never live streamed, have you?
No, dude, I
Dude,
haven't.
It's great, man. We'll do it. We're gonna do it again sometime.
Come to Columbus. We'll do a live stream
We'll do
with
a
you.
10-hour live stream. We'll do 12 hours.
Dude, I will literally do that. Like when I had like just gotten back from like some bars. I think it was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Friday or something. And like I was like I'd been drinking and I got back and I was just about to like go to bed pretty much, but I saw that and I saw the call-in thing. I was like, I have to call these
Dude,
guys.
we
Like I've never talked to
had-
these guys before. Like I have to call them right
We
now.
had
And
trolls calling us. We had a bunch. We know honestly though, we had a bunch of actual subscribers calling to talk to us, and
You had 90 missed calls.
I had over 100 missed
I
calls.
definitely called you guys like 10 times before you actually picked up though. So
Because like
those.
other YouTubers were calling us, subscribers were calling us, trolls were calling us. I got a number on Google Voice, and I was like, "F it, man, put it in the comments, just go." And we had trolls, we had YouTubers. It was
a party.
I think we'd do it again though.
Oh, absolutely.
We had a guy here, literally moderating chat and screening the phone calls. We had to have like a third party here helping us.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did not expect hundreds of calls. I truly didn't.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Anyway, check out Kyle's channel. Check out his podcast.
Absolutely.
We'll put links in the description. Kyle, thanks for talking to us, dude. We're gonna have to get up and do some hiking in Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
We've never hiked
Yes,
up
dude.
there.
You know.
I know.
Let me know, or anywhere in the Northeast, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so down.
We will let you know, sir, and we'll catch everybody on the next Backcountry BSing.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much.
And cut. That was fun, dude.
Yeah.
And
Dude, that was awesome.
Now we just hang on the line for like an awkward 15 or 30 seconds and debrief about it.
I can't even see the video or anything. I just do mine audio, so it's even more awkward.
I know it's honestly.